another. Mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Congressman, congratulations on waking up tens of millions of people to the message of liberty with your ongoing campaign. Congratulations on having the New York Times #1 bestseller.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate all your help for getting so many people interested in this subject.
Well, we're all in this together, and my liberty depends on your liberty and all of us together, so I thank you, sir. It's all symbiotic. Out of the gates, before we get into the book, we are having a lot of debates, discussions within the revolution that you're the focal point of, about what's really happening, why we're getting the delegates, what's going to happen at the convention. What would you like to see happen at the convention, and what do you think is realistic, and what do you think is constitutional?
Well, the most realistic thing that could happen is for us to have a presence there, a very positive presence, an enthusiastic presence, and a lot of people, which means we have delegates. There aren't that many. There's going to be several dozen. That's about all. There's going to be a lot of alternates, but there's going to be a lot of people around. Of course, we're going to have a rally up there as well, at the university. So I would say maybe the biggest thing that will come over the whole thing would be a grand rally, which will get some attention, because otherwise the whole convention is going to be pretty boring. But I think to be realistic, we can't challenge the system. Even if we come close to controlling a delegation, they bend the rules or break the rules or ignore the rules, and they run roughshod over you. But that doesn't mean that should diminish our enthusiasm, because what really counts are our ideas. Our ideas are more powerful than all the shenanigans that they pull. So I don't expect us to have any official presence at the convention. They're not going to give me a speaking engagement, I'm quite certain, and they're not going to allow a nomination or something like that, because they're not going to allow us to qualify. But that shouldn't discourage us in any way, because I think our momentum is actually building. The number of people who are looking, for information on Facebook and other places are actually climbing right now, not declining, even though people say, well, the campaign is essentially over. Well, the long-term campaign is really, really just getting started, and we just had a tremendous boost. So I think we have to be realistic. We're not going to be able to beat them under their own rules because they don't follow them. At the same time, since our ideas are so powerful, and those ideas, the time has come for them, they can't really quiet us at all. The only thing I'm asking for is that everybody do it in a dignified manner, and not to be looking for confrontation, and our ideas are powerful enough that we don't have to resort to any wild tactics.
Shifting gears along that same line, though, Jim Tucker a few weeks ago was able to get some of the minutes out of the Trilateral Commission annual meeting, and Jim has always given us good intel from Bilderberg, good intel from trilateral meetings from his sources, and so I found him to be an accurate source. He's predicted a lot of things before they happen from these sources, and he said that in the main Trilateral Commission meeting, you were specifically brought up, and they said, not your, the campaign. They said, yeah, they're not in danger of you becoming president now, but that the idea has gotten flashpoint and that tens of millions have woken up, and that they wanted to do basically media hit pieces on you or try to pressure you through the House leadership in the coming months to shut you up and to stop you going out to universities and energizing young people. And they bemoaned that the false left-right paradigm was shattering, and that young people, instead of being young socialists like the 60s, are becoming freedom lovers, and that they were very concerned.
Yeah, there's probably something to this, but isn't it interesting? The Republicans are annoyed, but in a way the Republicans should welcome me, because I could neutralize some of the young people's support for Obama. But I think what you're telling me explains that it isn't the Republicans that run the show or the Democrats, but it's the the powerful special interests, the elites who control both parties, the trilateral people and others. They're the ones who are frightened from our ideas because they would be very intimidated by, say, a gold standard or a non-interventionist foreign policy where we're not policing the world and we challenge the military-industrial complex. But if it was strictly a political ploy, I would think that we could serve the Republican interest. They should welcome us, a couple million people coming in. Why offend us? And then we would neutralize some of this enthusiasm for Obama. But I think the controlling interests are the ones who are the most important in this story.
Well, you're right. It doesn't matter if 91% of Americans want to control our sovereignty and our border in a Gallup poll. Both parties are against it. It doesn't matter if 70 to 80% want to end the war in both parties. The establishment, both parties are for it. We see this collision happening. How do you see that unfolding as your predictions about the economy come true, as the chickens come home to roost, as the dollar implodes, as our name implodes? It seems that the establishment gets more authoritarian and more arrogant as everyone turns against them.
Yeah, it's more dangerous than ever because, up till now, for the last 100 years, they've controlled everything through economic power and the Federal Reserve and the banks and the budgetary process. But when that fails, when the budgetary process fails and the dollar fails and even their own system is challenged, then they don't have the financial community that can hold us together because the markets are actually more powerful than anything else. I mean, they couldn't, they couldn't fix the price of gold. The price of gold eventually breaks down. But the danger is, instead of resorting just to manipulating the economy behind the scenes, all of a sudden to hold things together, they have to become more authoritarian. And look at what's happened. It's more authoritarian from top to bottom, whether it has to do with overseas activity, whether it has to do with spying on American citizens and doing all the harassment here at home and national ID cards and more control of the economy. So this is the contest going on. Are the American people going to put up with it and say, whatever they want to do, let them do? But this is, to me, a tremendous opportunity because up until now, the American people have been complacent. And they say, the government's going to help me. I'm doing fine, and I'll do my best. But if I need help, the government's going to take care of me. And they've been complacent, and they accept the help. But now the government's running out of this ability to help, and all they can offer is more force and authoritarianism. So the conflict, I'm sure, will build.
And time frame wise, you've been pretty accurate in the past on when you thought things would break down. I remember in 2003, the war had just started. You were speaking in Bastrop outside Austin, and I asked you, I said, when do you think things will really start unraveling? You said, well, it could happen any time, but probably 5, 6, 7 years from now. These things can build a long time, and here we are 5, 6 years later. How long can this bubble just continue on?
Well, I think it's starting to unravel. I mean, when you look at last year's value of the dollar, that's certainly been a major attack. I think the most significant event going on right now is the prices going up, the price inflation. People are now getting scared. They want pay raises and they want help. And the psychology has changed, and yet the government is just tries to deceive everybody by continuing their lies. They keep telling us, this last report on the CPI, they tried to say it was like at 2% or something like that, and they said, that actually that energy prices went down because they averaged them out for the year. Nobody believes that nonsense anymore. So they're being hit and they're hurting, but that's the reason they're not going to be content with some of the cliches from the government. They're going to, and that's why they're looking toward us to try to figure out the problem and what the answers are going to be.
Well, exactly. Just 6, 7 months ago in the winter of 2007, you had Bernanke in front of you, the new Fed chief, and he said that, we have 2.4% inflation, and then you said, well, even mainstream news says it's more like 7 or 10. I'm going from memory on this. And then basically you just laughed at him, and so did the media. I mean, how are they going to continue when most of the private groups that analyze it say 13 to 15%? Mainstream news is saying 10, 12%. I mean, how are they going to deny that inflation's going on and that oil prices are up because the dollar has gone in the toilet? I mean, just a month ago, they asked the White House press secretary, they said, is it true that oil's up because the dollar's down? And she said, I can't answer that question. I'd be fired. Like, we have to, 3-year-old children go to the White House and say, is it true the dollar's been devalued? Can you speak to that, Congressman?
Yeah. Well, the more they do that, the more they lose credibility, and that helps us because nobody's going to believe them. But that is the whole point, and that's why I drill it home all the time, is you got to think about the value of the dollar. And then that brings in the whole context of the idea of spending too much money and overtaxing, overborrowing, and then printing the money. And more people are starting to think about that now. When I first started, I was reluctant because I didn't think anybody would care about the Federal Reserve System, and they'd laugh me right off the stage. But this now gets the loudest applause on university campuses when I bring up the idea of money and monetary policy. And even Amazon has responded by selling some of Murray Rothbard's books and advertising them about the money.